Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. The French prospect Tony Yoka has returned to the ring victorious, stopping Alexander Dimitrenko in France in under 3 rounds. This was Yoka's first fight in a year following a ban by the French Federation for missing drug testing. But in this fight, he looked really good for his return. Obviously, wasn't suffering from any degree of ring rust. The first couple of rounds, a feeling out process, he became more aggressive before ultimately hurting Dimitrenko in that third round. He hit him with a right hand and then followed up with an uppercut, dropping Dimitrenko to the canvas, and then after that it was all downhill. And this is where it gets a little bit strange because Dimitrenko, if you've seen any of his stoppage losses before, often he looks for an easy way out. He doesn't have a lot of heart, Alexander Dimitrenko, and I think we saw this again tonight because upon watching the replay of the actual point of the stoppage, it looked like he was hamming it up. It looked like he wanted a way out, but he was legitimately hurt by Yoka with the right-handed uppercut. He gets up, beats the count. Yoka swarms him, kind of hits him with a couple of cuffing right hands. Nothing clean, nothing flush, but Dimitrenko is sprawling backwards and almost over the ropes. If you see here on screen, he's actually doubled over the ropes here. So the referee jumps in immediately and waves it off. And watching it live, it looked legitimate, but I watched the replay about 4 or 5 times in slow motion. And Dimitrenko, I think this is another case of a very soft stoppage. But it doesn't change the fact that this is a win for Tony Yoka after his year out, and he looked pretty good in there. The first round, he was just measuring Dimitrenko, a war of jabs, as I was sort of mentioning. Not too much action, nothing to write home about. Second round, he did come out more aggressive with some intent. Towards the end of the round, he has a good little sequence where he hurts Dimitrenko with an uppercut, works him to the body, and he was looking for the body shots more as the fight wore on. Didn't wear on for long, only 2.5 rounds worth of action. And in that third round, it was obviously all downhill. So this is a good return to the ring for Tony Yoka. This is the best name on his record now. We have to remember Alexander Dimitrenko is a high-level gatekeeper of sorts. When he does want it and when he's on form, he can actually cause some fighters some problems. He dropped Bryant Jennings in their fight. That was only, less than a year ago. He obviously upset Adrian Granat. So Dimitrenko is not a complete bum or anything like that. But often when he does get hurt in a fight, he can look for a way out. We've seen that before against Joseph Parker. He was looking for that. Although he was hit while he was on the canvas, there have been other times where Dimitrenko does seem to want out of there, and including against Andy Ruiz Jr., where he retired after 5 rounds in their fight. That was earlier this year. But Ruiz Jr. fought Dimitrenko ahead of his fight with Joshua, and Yoka's facing Dimitrenko in his 6th pro fight. So I think Yoka does deserve some credit here for the win. It's actually, compared to a lot of other prospects, one of the better names you can have at this point in your career on your record. I didn't manage to catch the post-fight because I don't speak French, but previously Tony Yoka has really wanted to face Johan Dorper. That fight hasn't come about yet, and they had been talking about earlier this year, and Yoka had even said publicly that Duhaupas would be the opponent for this July return fight. But Duhaupas said, look, I've got some other things going on in my life. He had a baby on the way, his first child. He wanted to spend some time with his family, but he had previously said that he's open to it later in the year. So potentially we may see a Tony Yoka fight with Johan Dorper at the back end of 2019. Maybe Yoka will have another 1 or 2 fights ahead of that, probably 1. So we'll have to see what happens next, but I think Tony Yoka does need probably another tune-up fight ahead of fighting Johan Dorper, who, unlike Alexander Dimitrenko, if he gets hit, he'll keep coming. Very hard man to drop, very hard man to stop is Johan Dorper. So that's a good sort of barometer, a good test for Tony Yoka. I don't think he'll have any problems outclassing Johan Dorper, who at this point in his career is on the slide, but he is still a durable opponent, and that's probably what Tony Yoka needs at this point in his career. He needs more opponents like Jonathan Rice, who he fought in his, I think it was his 2nd fight. Guys who are decent boxers, can give him some rounds, but someone that he can still beat but learn from. because there's no point in him facing complete stiffs. The trajectory that I've got him on, he needs to be facing, decent level opponents. And Dimitrenko did fit that bill, although, there is the issue and the question of the heart with Dimitrenko. As soon as he's hurt, as we saw in this one, he looked for a way out. So it'll be interesting to see who they line him up with next. I'm not sure they'll just go straight to a Dorpa fight, but what do you make of it all? Tony Yoka returns, successful return after a year out of the ring. Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.